Hello, everybody. Got a lot of people in their car today. Let's make sure we're practicing safety. See, the seatbelts are on, so that's good. I know, Miss Paula, you're not driving, so that's okay not to have your seatbelt on then. I love that you guys, are here regardless if you're not in an office, right? I think that shows some dedication and some commitment. I used to have like an hour-long drive to the school. We just lived an hour away, which I don't recommend, but I justified it because I would drive and thrive. I'd be listening to courses and podcasts, and you know, I tried to justify it, but it only lasted a few years. We had to move closer. An hour-long commute. I don't know. Have you ever had to have like a long commute like that, Steven?
No, 20
No.
minutes for me to get to work, which that's my limit, you know?
Right? Yeah, I think 20 minutes is about it. So appreciate everybody hopping on. If you have the ability to turn your cameras on, we'd love to see your beautiful faces. Mr. Von Tonder, nice to see you, sir. Just saw you about a week ago. So glad to see you on here. I refer to my truck as Mobile Command Center. There we go.
I like
Awesome.
that.
Yeah. So we still have people kind of pouring in, but we want to respect everybody's time. Super important conversation we're going to be having right now because of the time of the year that it is back to school, right? And I think for a lot of you, the kids are back to school. I know some of the like more northern states, they don't go back to school until after Labor Day. My son went back to school on Monday and he was very reluctant. Had to drop him off today, but we were good. No tears. So that's always nice. And today we're really going to be talking about all things Google. And I wanted to bring on Steven, who is the founder and CEO, visionary, whatever title you want to use, of Market Muscles, because he is just an absolute expert when it comes to websites. And that's an area that I'm not an expert in, which is why we don't offer websites at GrowPro. And when I really think about Google, I think about your today buyers, like the people that are ready to buy today because they have an intent. They went on the platform and they are searching for martial arts in your city, in your zip code, near me. And it's just very important we're having this conversation now because parents are looking for extracurricular activities to put their kids in, and we want to help you rank higher. And with anything in your business, you have an option. You can either pay with your money, right? Or you can pay with your time and effort. And we're going to be talking about both of those, right? We'll give you some free ways that will help you rank higher. And we'll also talk about some paid ways to help you rank higher. But just so I kind of know where everybody's at, can you let me know in the chat, how often are you updating your Google business profile? So if somebody searches your school's name on Google, that profile that pops up, how often are you updating it? Let me know in the comments. We got once a week, 3 times a week, once a week. And if you're not doing it at all, that's fine. If you're driving, don't worry about typing into the chat. 3 times a week. Okay. I'm not sure how to. Well, after today, you will know how. We are going to earn our first stripe on our white belt when it comes to Google today. So I'm excited about that. Awesome, guys. Next question that I have for you. And on our webinars, we ask you to participate. We like the engagement. This is probably one of the most important KPIs that you need to be keeping an eye on that not a lot of people talk about. And that is the number of Google reviews you have. So let me know in the chat, how many Google reviews do you have on your Google business profile? Hopefully you know off the top of your head. If not, you could just go to Google your school's name, and you'll be able to see. Oh, we got some big numbers here. Very good.
This is great.
80, right? 100 plus, 80, 259. Steven, how many? I mean, I know our numbers when we do audits, we check Google reviews. What do you guys typically see when you do audits in terms of Google reviews? Because those numbers are really high.
Yeah, it's typically like 30 to 40 max is what we'll see. Yeah, it's pretty low. And it's like one of those things that you can really focus on to stand out from your competitors. So I'm glad to see that most of the crew here is taking it seriously because it is a huge thing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about exactly how huge it is. When we're doing marketing audits, very similar, like 30, 40 would be the max. It's typically like we're seeing on average 10 to 15. And, one of the things that I always ask school owners when they do have 10 to 15, reviews, I say, how long have you been open? And, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. How many lives do you think you've impacted? Oh, we've impacted hundreds or thousands of lives. And I said, I'll tell them, I want your Google review number to reflect the amount of lives that you have impacted. And I think when you look at it that way, it's just kind of a little bit of a mind shift. And there are absolute systems you can put into place, but it is one of the most important numbers. And if your number isn't where it should be, we've got to remember what we focus on expands. So if this is a number that you want to improve on, this is a number that you need to be discussing in your weekly team meetings and getting everybody on the team to help increase that. Okay. Last question, and then I'm going to share the screen and dive in. Yes or no, have you ever had a heat map ranking report done on your school? Heat map ranking report. And if you don't know what that is, then the answer is probably no. Okay, so we got one yes, the majority no. Okay, so I'm going to share that with you today because it is going to give you some really, really just great insights to where you are actually ranking. Because when you type in, martial arts near me versus a parent, you're going to, and I'll show you why, you might see two completely different rankings. And it has a lot to do with location, which we'll talk about. But for those of you that haven't done a heat map ranking, we have a special gift for you at the end. It does cost money, but we're going to offer it to you for free. So if you want it after we do it, I'll let you know how we can get that going. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Get my presentation up. So the ultimate guide to Google Maps. This is our agenda for today. And myself and both Stephen are going to be going back and forth on this. We're going to talk about the 3 places you absolutely need to show up on Google and what the 3 factors are. Like, what is Google looking at in order for you to rank? We'll talk a little bit about like the local 3-pack and Google Maps and the overlap that they have, when the 3-pack shows up, and how Google ultimately determines if a search has local intent. We'll talk about how to see where you're ranking and also how to see how your Google business profile is performing. I don't think a lot of people understand that there are analytics in your Google business profile that will tell you like how many people are looking at it, how many people are asking for directions, how many people are calling from it. And these are great KPIs to keep an eye out so you can see how well your profile is optimized. We'll talk about how you can get in the Google local 3-pack and really what to do if your market is really competitive. Yes or no in the chat. Are you in a competitive market? Meaning there are a ridiculous amount of martial arts schools, within, let's say, a 5 to 10 mile radius. Let me know. Yes or no, are you in a competitive market? Got one no. Okay, that's cool. Not really. Yes, yes. 4 schools and 5 miles. Yeah, I could throw a rock and I can hit another BJJ school. Yes, too many Gracies. Yep, that's us. We are a Gracie school. All right, so we'll talk about like what to do if you are in a competitive market, and then how your website plays a role in all of this, and also just some recent changes to the local 3-pack. So as always, we appreciate you guys hopping on with us today, investing your time. And I feel super confident that if what you learned today, you implement, your Google business profile will allow you to attract more today buyers in your school. Always got to set the tone, code of conduct. Let's be present, close out the Facebook tab, shut down the email. Everything will be there once we're done. Please participate, ask questions. We will get to them for you. Take notes, and none of this matters unless you take action. So Stephen, you want to do just I don't want to just read this, but you want to do just a quick little intro about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, guys? My name's Steven Reinstein. I run a business called Market Muscles. We just celebrated our 8th year in business, which is crazy. We help around 800 or so martial arts studios around the US, Canada, UK, with their websites and some of their follow-up systems as well. So really excited to be here today to host this with Cris. As many of you may know, Cris and I have been friends for a long time now, and these are conversations that we always have, like within each other, within private conversations. So it's fun to be able to hop on here and chat with you guys about this today. So
I think you know a thing or two about martial arts too, right?
I guess so. Yeah, started training in karate when I was 2 years old. Still go to Okinawa every year, sometimes twice a year for training. Yeah.
Yes. So you've got, not only a tech geek, but also a martial artist with you today. My name's Cris. I would assume most of you know me if you're on our list for GrowPro, if you're on this webinar. But if you don't, I'm a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo and a first-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Founded Gracie Pack MMA back in 2012, which I recently sold earlier this year because GrowPro has just gotten to a size where it required my full attention. I also get to work with the wonderful, amazing folks over at Maya, the Martial Arts Industry Association, as their marketing consultant. And I'm also a business consultant for a lot of 7-figure and even 8-figure companies. And I think my most important titles are I am a mom and I'm also a wife. And my wife just left for 4 days and I am momming by myself. This will be the first time ever. So if you guys want to say a little prayer for me, that would be great. Mr. Scott said, I thought you were a white belt. I'm a white belt in the ATA Taekwondo. Yes, sir. Awesome. Okay, so we got to start with where does your school or where can your school show up on Google? All right. And there are ultimately 3 places. You've got the top with ads. Okay. And I told you we're going to talk about strategies that are going to cost you money. That's the ads. But we're also going to talk about strategies that are just going to cost you your time and your energy. If you are currently running paid ads on Google, can you drop the word ads in the chat for me? If you're running paid ads on Google through Google Ads Manager, okay, got a handful of you. Okay. So one of the things that I think is important is just for us to talk about the difference between Google ads and Facebook ads. At GrowPro, we run ads on Facebook and Google, but the majority of our clients are predominantly on Facebook. I'd say, maybe 40% of our clients also run Google ads. And they're very, very different. If you are looking for something, let's say you're riding your bicycle and your bicycle breaks and you need to get it fixed. Are you going to Facebook to find a bicycle repair shop or are you going to Google? You're going to Google, right? When people have an intent, they go to Google. And this is the reason why Google ads can actually be quite a bit more in terms of cost per lead than your Facebook ads, which are interest-based marketing. So Facebook basically has all this data on us because it's tracking your every move through this thing. I know you guys have, had conversations with somebody and then all of a sudden you see an ad for that thing on Facebook. It's kind of creepy, right? They are tracking everything. But with that data, we can create audiences of people that we think might be interested in the martial arts, right? And we can also target people that we know are interested because they've been on our website or they've opted into our list. But your Google leads have a much quicker buying cycle. You can go from lead to student a lot faster than Facebook. Not saying you can't do that with Facebook, but Facebook, it's going to take some more nurturing, a lot more follow-up than Google. And this is why it's just typically more expensive to advertise on Google. And when you do run Google ads and they're set up properly, they show up right at the top. And I think we all would agree that people's attention span year after year are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And most people are not going to take the time to scroll down And especially, I know Steven's going to talk about this when we get into the organic, rankings where your website would ultimately show up. People aren't scrolling. They don't even have like page 2 and 3. You just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling now. So ads are going to be right at the top, but it's gonna cost you some serious money. And depending on your market and how many people are advertising in that area, it might cost you like $1 to get somebody to click on the ad. That doesn't even mean you get their contact information, just to click on the ad. But in some more competitive markets, we've seen like up to $5 for a click, $8 for a click. And that really starts to eat into your budget. However, if you can convert them into a lead through the funnel that you have set up, these are just super high quality leads, right? I think out of all the different types of leads, I would prefer referral leads. Those are, to me, like the hottest types of leads that we can get. But in terms of online leads, I would, prefer a Google lead because they are showing intent. So you can show up all the way at the top with ads, and then you can show up on the 3-pack here. And this is really one of the most important areas to show up if you aren't doing paid ads. And it's actually location based. And this is why you could be searching for your school in your home. And then you go to the school and you search for your school while you're at the school, and you'll see 2 completely different results on Google's SERP. So the SERP is the search engine results page. And once you have the 3-pack here, they can click on more businesses. And when they click on more businesses, that would take them to Google Maps. Okay. And then finally, we can show up organically. And organically is below the ads, it's below the 3-pack. In this case, I mean, Yelp was actually ranking pretty high. When I did a search, I was searching for my house. You can see this is my house right here, this blue little dot. Yelp showed, and then they also have this people also ask, which is becoming more and more prevalent when searches are occurring. And one of the cool things, and I don't know if Steven's going to talk about blogging at all, but you can actually get like your blogs ranked in here as well. I had a school owner reach out to me yesterday. We were talking about blogging, and he said he did a blog that is ranking like #1 in his area. And I asked him, what did you do the blog on? And he said it was about the cost of martial arts. And it's interesting because our #1 ranked blog on our Market Muscle site, guess what it has to do? With the cost of martial arts. Because is it a fair assumption to think that parents, if they are interested in martial arts, they're going to potentially want to know what the average cost is? Of course, right? And then under all of that, under the ads, under the 3-pack, under, potentially Yelp, under people also ask, then we have the organic listings. Okay. So those are the 3 areas that you can show up on this platform. Your ads are your today buyers. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but the buying cycle is a lot shorter. In terms of the 3-pack, when you search on Google, and you'll notice up here, Bayport Colony, Town and Country. So that's where my house is located. It's telling me that it's going to show me the results for where I am located right at that moment. And you can change this. So if you were curious to see, okay, well, what schools is it showing in a different area? You can click on choose area and you can switch the area. But it's going to, take your location from the device that you are searching for, and it is going to showcase the schools. Now, my school is about 20 minutes away from my house. So you're going to notice, what is it showing me? It's showing me the schools that are right around the corner from my house. And this is why it's, so imperative that you do optimize your Google business listing, because I would think we would all agree that if somebody lives near our school and they're searching for martial arts near me, we want to make sure that we are populating, right? If somebody's 50 miles away, probably not super convenient for them to drive. So this is based on the location. And one of the #1 signals that Google looks at are your reviews. Okay. And this is why it is so important to build systems into your school to consistently get reviews. I would say what often happens is school owners come on a webinar like this. They got all pumped up. All right, Chris said I got to get reviews. And then you'll, get it all hands on deck. Ask, as many people as you can. Maybe your grandma, which my 97-year-old grandma has given me a 5-star Google review. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But then you don't develop ongoing systems to consistently get that. And every time you get a review on Google, that's sending a signal to them that, like, hey, people like this place as long as you're getting high reviews. Okay. So if you are finding that you are searching for your school near your location, but you are not populating on the 3-pack, that has a lot to do with optimizing your profile and a lot to do with your reviews. Okay. We talked earlier that if they click into seeing more businesses, you'll then see the map, which is going to expand. And as you can see, it's showing me a lot more options than just in the 3-pack. But most people, guys, are just going to look at that 3-pack. They're not going to take the extra time to look at more businesses. So we want to make sure we're getting in there. Okay. And then finally, you have organically. And this is really where the search engine optimization, SEO, I'm sure that's a terminology or a term that all of you have heard. This is where that comes into play. And, I think that there are certain things in our business that we absolutely should outsource, things that you're not an expert in. Like, first off, like, I don't do my books, right? I'm not, doing my own taxes. I have an accountant for that. I have an expert for that. And there is an expert way to set up your website to help ensure that you are ranking higher. Okay, so those are the 3 places. The other thing I want to touch on is one of the most common terms that people will use is martial arts near me or karate near me, right? Most people have, will use martial arts and karate interchangeably. As we are seeing other sports become more popular, like jujitsu, we are seeing those, search phrases increase, but they're not nearly as many as martial arts or karate, and most people can't even spell jujitsu anyways. But besides martial arts near me or karate near me, another common search term that people will use is the zip code of the school. So you also want to make sure that if you do search for martial arts in your zip code, you are ranking in the 3-pack, which, as you can see, this is the zip code where Gracie Pack is. We are ranking in there. Okay. So the 3 factors that Google will look at to determine where you rank locally, number 1 is relevance. They're looking to see how accurately does the search phrase or term that the person typed in match what's in your Google business profile. And this is why it's so important to use those keywords in your business profile. The second thing they look at is the distance. So the physical space between where the person is searching and where your business is located. This is why if you're 20 miles away from your school and you're searching for it, probably not going to be ranking on the local 3-pack. And then finally is prominence. It measures a business's reputation, basically like how well they're known. And some of those things Stephen is going to be talking about, like how you can develop that into your website. But having a cadence and a rhythm to consistently updating your Google business profile sends signals to Google that, like, oh, this is an active business. This is something that people might be searching for. So we want to show their profile. So those are the 3 things that Google takes into mind. And again, we want local searches, right? Has anybody ever had a video go viral? Type the word viral in the chat if you've ever had like a video you posted on your martial arts business page go viral. It's pretty rare, right? And I had, oh, good job, Steven. What was the video about? Just curious.
It was at the martial arts school that I train at, and we had a gentleman that was like in his 80s that was learning some like basics, some Kihon. And it was just a video of him going up and down the floor doing his high blocks, and it like blew up. I mean, it got tons of shares because the message behind it was like, you're never too old to start martial arts.
Oh,
Right?
that's cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
I love it. So wow, going viral is pretty neat, and it could turn like a you kind of have a full-time day job responding to comments if you're going to respond to comments because it takes so much time. Most of the people, right? Cougar Cam said we currently have one with 117,000 views. The question we have to ask ourselves, well, how many of those views are actually happening in an area where we could potentially pull customers from, which are near our school, right? And typically it's not. So yeah, there's cool factor into it. There's, awareness into it, but we ultimately want people that are in our zip code, in our city and town name, and people that are searching near me, near our school. So those are the three things that Google looks at in order to serve that local content on Google's search engine results page. So now that you kind of understand, a little bit more about where you can show up on Google, I think it's an important question to ask ourselves, okay, well, like, where do I rank? Where does my school rank? And this is where heat maps come into play. And heat maps, it's a paid software that you would need to purchase. And most of the software requires you to purchase like credits or tokens in order to run them. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to set up a parameter. So in this case, these circles here. So this is where the school is located, this little red dot. And each circle is a mile out. So you've got 4 miles to the west, 4 miles to the east, 4 miles north, 4 miles south. And you can go further out if you wanted to. Maybe you're in a more rural area and you can pull people from 10 or 15 miles away. For us in Tampa, 4 miles could take, almost an hour in rush hour traffic. So we usually do about a 4-mile radius all the way around. And what this is saying is if somebody is standing right inside of the school and they Google, martial arts near me, this school, Kang's Black Belt Academy, which is one of our Grow Pro schools, they show up #1 on Google, as they should, because the person is standing inside their school. If that person walks or drives a mile over to the right and they Google martial arts near me, Kang's is going to show up #2 on Google's search engine results page. Okay. If they go another mile, it's #4, another mile, #5. Now, when we start getting like closer to the edges, those might not necessarily, depending on the demographics and the saturation of your town, might not be people that you would even be able to pull in if you're in a very saturated market. But these, few miles immediately around, we want to make sure that we are ranking high. So in this case, if we go 2 miles over to the left, they're #9 on Google's search engine results page. They're not even close to the top. So this is an example of where people are, where this school is ranking depending on where the person is standing. Then you come on board and we optimize your Google business profile and we maintain it. There's this huge misconception that once you optimize the profile once, that these rankings will continue. And it's not true. It needs ongoing support to maintain those rankings. So you can see this was January 30th. So let's just call that February 1st. So we optimize it in February, March, April. 3 months later, how's that ranking looking now? Barely seeing any reds, right? So now we were able to take these places where they were showing up #20, #15, #9, and turn them literally into the top #1 ranking. Okay. Now, we call this our Google Business Amplifier program. It is a paid service, but everything that we do, you could do as well. And the key to it is that you don't just do it once, you're doing it consistently month after, like week after week, month after month. Okay. So this is the heat map ranking. And at the end, I'll drop a link. If you guys want us to run a heat map ranking for you, we'd be happy to do that. Okay. So the other area that you're going to want to look at just to see how your Google business profile is performing is on your Google business profile. So let me just go ahead and pull it up over here. Stephen, can you see my profile now?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, awesome. So you need to be signed in to the Google account that is associated with your Google business profile. But inside, there's this little button. If you are signed on, you'll notice it says performance. And if I click on performance, it's going to pop up. And you can set it to certain time periods if you want to just look at 1 month or you want to look at it over a course of the year. But this is going to give you some really good insights to how many times people are actually interacting and seeing your Google business profile. So you can see, March, we had about 521, April, 527, May, 520. So that's how many interactions, how many times people are interacting with our Google business profile. It also shows you how many calls were being made. And I think that this is a very important number to look at. And also, depending on what hours you are able to answer the phone, if you're getting a lot of phone calls, like for example, in March, we got 71 phone calls just from the Google business profile. So that means somebody looked at our Google business profile and they clicked this button on their phone and they're calling us. That's a lot, guys. So you want to look at this. And, fortunately, we have somebody that can answer the phone from 9 to 9. So we're able to stay on top of those calls. Okay. If you have messages, you can connect the ability to have messages come in and out. It would show that if you have a direct booking. But if you use like a third-party CRM, it's not going to show you those bookings. You have to use some of the bookings that Google suggests, and there's not that many options, and none of the ones in the martial arts are available. And then you have directions. I mean, look at this. March, 226 people requested directions from our Google business profile. All right. And then you can also showcase website clicks. How many people are looking at the profile and then going to the website? So I don't think a lot of people even know that this information is readily available inside of your Google business profile, but it'll show you how well or not well your profile is performing. And if it's not performing very well, it's probably because it's not being showcased when people are searching for those martial arts terms. Okay. So if you have not claimed your listing, if you Google literally like how to claim your business profile on Google, it's going to bring it to the support article and it'll walk you through the steps, guys. Okay. But I'm going to assume most of you have already claimed your listing. You already own your listing. So let's talk about the 8 different things that you should be doing on a consistent, and when I say consistent, I mean a weekly basis, to ensure that you are showing up in the 3-pack when people are searching if they are close enough to your school. So the first one is optimizing your profile, and just go under edit profile, and you'll notice here you get a little like circle that will tell you what the strength of the profile is. So ours is fully optimized. So if you go in and you notice that it's red or it's yellow, that means you've got some work to do. Under edit profile, what most schools do is they set this up right in the beginning and then they never update it again. And when they set it up in the beginning, they had a million things to do, so they really didn't take a lot of time and energy. One of the kind of ninja hacks that I can give you is inside of the description. I'm in Tampa. Tampa is huge, right? Well, we actually service Carrollwood and West Chase. Those are like smaller little sub communities inside of Tampa. And if you have maybe affluent areas that you want to pull, families from, there may be specific subdivisions that you want to pull those families from, put those terms inside of the description here. All right. Because again, Google wants to serve the searchers with the most relevant information. And if somebody is searching for martial arts in Carrollwood and I have the term Carrollwood in my description, that's going to help me rank higher. Okay. So you need to go through, and it's pretty, like step by step. You don't need any crazy like tech skills here, but you're going to set your business category. We have ours as martial arts school, gym, karate school, and a physical fitness program. I would recommend the primary category be martial arts school. Okay. You're going to update the description. Try to put as much in there as you can. There are a certain amount of characters, 750. You can see we used every single character that we could. Okay. And here's another little ninja tip. If you want to be able to do that, you can take whatever you wrote, throw it in a chat GPT and let it know how many characters you do want it to have, and it can expand it for you. Now, obviously you need to read through it. Don't just copy and paste it, edit it, right? And that can help you with hitting those character amounts. You're going to connect your contact information, website, social profiles, all of those things. Now, service area. When you think service area, most people would think like, oh, it's like for plumbers or HVAC, right? If I owned a plumbing company, there would be certain areas in Tampa that I would be able to service. And not a lot of schools put service areas in here. And I would pick all of the major. We've got Carrollwood, South Tampa, Town and Country, New Tampa, West Chase, so on and so forth. All of those areas that we are able to pull from, put them in there. And then you've got your business hours, your special hours. And they've added a lot underneath in terms of like amenities. If you offer a family discount, you can highlight that you do offer family discounts in here, what your parking looks like, and things like that. So this is something that you shouldn't just take 5 minutes on. This is something that you really want to spend some time. And again, number one tip I can give you is pull those service areas in and make sure in the description you are pulling those subdivisions or smaller communities in here as well. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit faster through these. We talked earlier, reviews. This is one of the number one signals that it sends to Google. One of the things you need to make sure you're doing is responding to reviews. And Google wants recency of the reviews. They don't want to just see that you got 150 reviews 2 years ago. That doesn't show that you're relevant anymore. So this is one of the top signals in order to get into that 3-pack besides the location of your school. Okay. Photos. Some of you still have your photos from when you first opened your school. You've done remodels. You've gotten new mats. You've painted the walls. You've gotten new equipment. Maybe you've even moved locations and you never updated the photos. Again, every time you're putting information into this profile, it's sending a signal to Google that you are staying relevant. So I would recommend at a minimum updating new photos of your school, of the students, on a quarterly basis at a minimum. That's like bare minimum. If you could do it on a monthly basis, even better. Okay. We already talked about performance. Advertises if you just want to do Google ads. If you click on this, it'll take you to the Google Ads Manager. Now, when you guys think products, okay, you probably think like martial arts uniform or headgear or mouthpiece or boxing gloves, because that's what a product technically is. I want you to think of your product as your paid trial. Okay. So as you can see, we have our bread and butter paid trials located in here. Our bread and butter paid trial is 2 weeks for $29. You can click on it, and it also has a URL. So a link that can take them directly to get that paid trial. So this is an area that not a lot of schools fill out because they just think products, like nobody's going to buy boxing gloves for me that, doesn't train with me. So set up your trials in there. We talked services earlier. In terms of service area, these are the different types of basically styles and services that you can offer. And there are a lot of options. I would not add options that you don't actually offer. But for us, we're an MMA school, and all of these different types of styles, we do have some of it in our curriculum. Okay. So we tried to dump as many of the different services as we could into the profile. If you want people to be able to book directly from here, you can link external booking links. So if you wanted them to like link to a calendar in your CRM, you can, but it's not going to show up under the performance bookings. All right. Because there's no way for Google to know if somebody clicked on that link and then actually filled it out. But as you can see, we do have a appointment link. So if somebody wanted to book an appointment with us, they could do that directly from here. Okay. Q&As, these are just questions that people can ask. And I highly recommend that if somebody does ask a question, you are the one to answer it, because Google allows other people to answer it as well. And you don't want misinformation occurring. And then we've got adding an update. So you can post on Google the same way that you can post on Facebook and the same way that you can post on Instagram. And you should be posting on here. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking the post that you put on those platforms and also putting it on here, because again, it's just sending signals to Google that you're staying relevant, that you're updating your profile. Okay. And If you do want to, go all in with asking reviews, they give you a very easy way to do it with just a link. I'm a big fan of using a QR code. I noticed some people said don't, get reviews from your school. You have to be careful with getting massive amounts of reviews from your location at one time. That can hurt the ability for it to push through. But getting them sporadically, I would tell you the majority of these reviews actually came from QR codes located inside of our school. Okay. So those are the step-by-steps that you can do. And it's not just once, it's something you need to be doing continuously inside of your school. So reviews, and an optimized website. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Steven, and he's going to talk about what can you be doing website-wise to help you rank higher on Google.
Alrighty. So is this coming through for you guys?
Looks good.
Alrighty, cool. All right, so everything Cris just shared with you, incredible stuff for getting that Google business profile to be listing higher. So hopefully everyone has a ton of notes that they can then implement there. But there are things on your website that you can implement to boost everything that Cris has talked about. So just like she's saying, sending signals to Google, there's things on your website that you can do as well. So first thing that we're going to talk about, and I know it's 2024, but this topic is still coming up, is having a mobile first website. Now, we look at stats across all of our websites. Like I mentioned, we manage about 800 websites. Typically 65% or more of the people coming to your website are coming from mobile devices. So there used to be a term that was thrown out a lot in terms of having your website be mobile friendly. But I'm using a term called mobile first. All right. And the difference is with mobile friendly, you're essentially saying, hey, take my desktop website and kind of stack everything on top of each other when you go on a mobile device. That way the person doesn't have to like zoom in and scroll around and things like that. Now there's a mindset of looking at things mobile first. So basically when you're creating your website, you're looking at your website, you're thinking about things from the point of someone's on their mobile device. So it's like you're looking at things backwards, right? It's like we're going to start with mobile first. And then when you expand to a desktop, that's how things look, right? And the whole idea is that, again, 65% of the people or more are coming on mobile devices. So how do we do that? So with our websites, one of the big things that we have is a bar at the top of the page that kind of follows people along. You can see it in this example where we have the three most common buttons that people are looking for. So one, the ability to call, two, looking at the schedule, and then three, looking at the web special. Now for the schedule and web special, we do recommend that that leads to some sort of pop-up where someone can opt in and get that information. But grabbing the phone number is really important. People are going to want to do that on their mobile device. And then also looking for the address, which we typically put inside of the menu, and they can get the address there. But just think about your website from a mobile first perspective. Are you offering these things at the top of the page, these things that people on mobile devices are looking for? Now, from Google's perspective, Google sends out these spiders, I guess you can call it, throughout everyone's websites that rank on Google. And it's constantly looking at the way that your website is set up. It's looking at how fast it's loading. It's looking at the way things are appearing. It looks at the actual individual elements on your website. And it's saying, oh, is this easy for someone to click on? It's constantly analyzing your website. And it's taking that into consideration when it comes to your search engine ranking. Okay, so this isn't just a way to make your website look more pretty or to be more accessible for people that are going to your website. It's also playing into Google's algorithm as well. Okay, so these are all really important indicators and factors that Google is looking at. It wants to make sure that your website is extremely optimized for mobile, for, over everything that I just talked about. Moving on, we've got our ensuring you have a name, area, phone consistency. So on your Google profile, you list out obviously your name of your business, you've got your phone number on there, and you've got your address on there. And this is more of a technical thing, but Google wants to see that your address on your Google business profile is matching exactly on your website, like verbatim, like literally where you have a comma. For here, this is 33116 NY 112. Route 112 is actually the name of the street. And then it's Suite B, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you could put this address on your website. But the goal is you want to match exactly the way that Google has it. Again, this is just one of those things that falls into the way that their algorithm works. They want to see consistency between the way that you have it on your website and the way that you have it on your profile. So if you do see that it is differentiating, It's just we're stacking as many chips on our side of the table as possible to rank as high as possible. Just playing into this game that Google creates for us with their algorithm, which is constantly changing. But again, we have to play to their rules to make sure that we are coming up as high on Google as possible. Next thing that we're talking about is using local search keywords in our content. So Cris talked about this on our actual Google profile, using those specific keywords that we want to rank for. But this also applies to your website. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that we see a lot of school owners make is they have an idea of keywords that they want to rank for, but they actually don't know if people in their community are searching for those keywords, right? So you might put in a lot of effort to make sure like, hey, this specific keyword, I need that all over my website. I need to write blog posts about it. But if nobody's searching for that specific keyword, then why are you investing all that time, right? So there are tools out there, and this is something that we can help with at Market Muscles, and do a search in your area and really find an indication of, one, how many people are searching for that specific keyword. Two, what are the keywords that people are actually searching for? So that way you know what you should be targeting on your website. And then once you know what those keywords are, that's when you start to craft content around it. So writing on your blog posts or on your blog, creating those blog posts within the actual content of your website, you want to have these local search keywords. So when people are looking for, martial arts near me, that's a very common one. That's typically what most areas have. You want to come up as high as possible in those organic listings. Now, Cris had talked about the 3 different spots. You've got your ads, you've got your map, and then you have your organic listings. So there's a stat that I love to share. 80% of the people who are searching for a specific keyword are going to click on the number 1 listed item that comes up inside of the organic area. And then 20% of the people are going to be split between the rest of the results in there. Okay, so it is your number 1 goal to come up as the number 1 slot within the organic listing for as many keywords as possible that people are searching for. Okay, so if you really want to get as much traffic to your website as possible, it's something that you should really focus on. Now, SEO in general is a long-term investment. It's something that takes many months, especially if you're in a very competitive area. And the payoff is that you're getting a ton of people to come to your website. And you can have the best website ever, the most optimized, best for conversion website in the world. But if you have nobody coming to it, then there's nobody to convert, right? So ensuring that you have great SEO is something that's extremely important. Because it takes time to grow it, that's when you can invest in things like Google Ads, because that's how you buy your way to the top of Google in the meantime. But in general, you really want to be pushing for ranking as high as possible within those organic listings. Moving on to creating location-specific content. So this is something that we recently introduced to our websites. We've gone through an upgrade. We've added these blocks to our sites where we list out the specific communities that each martial arts school that we work with serves, okay? And by listing out the communities, this, Cris just went over this with the actual profile, but this applies to your website as well. You want to list out these communities because this is what people are typically searching, right? You might live in a city that has a large geographic region, but you have these subsets, and you want to make sure that this sort of content is displaying on your website. So by listing out these communities on your site, this is going to help with you showing up when people are searching for this. Now, if you want to take this a step further, you can actually create pages on your website that talk about the services that you provide specifically for these communities. So you would have a dedicated page in this instance for Sunset, you would have a dedicated page for Richmond, dedicated page for West Portal, and have that on your website. And inside that content, you're going to talk about all the different programs that you offer specifically for that community. And I promise those pages are going to rank extremely high when people search for it, because I know that your competitor is not doing this strategy. Okay. And this strategy comes from a lot of local services like HVAC and plumbing. They do this a lot on their websites where they have these very specific community based pages, and it works extremely well. It hasn't really hit the strategy in the martial arts world. And that's why I know it's going to be so successful if you do deploy a strategy like this, because no one is really doing it, but people are searching for it. So you need to know that if you are going to invest the time and create these pages, it will pay off. Alrighty. And then we've got some of this is pretty technical stuff that we're going to get into here. I remember sharing this one time on a webinar, and one of the attendees was unmuted, and he was talking to his wife, and he like turns around, he's like, he's talking about some code mumbo jumbo right now. And that's literally what I'm going to talk about, is some code stuff. But this stuff is important because this is how Google reads your website. So there is something called structured data. It's also called schema, that you can add to your website. This is code that tells Google what your website is about. Okay. And this specifically is built for local businesses. All right. So I put a link here. It's just technicalseo.com/tools/schema markup generator. You can also Google just schema markup generator. It's the first one that comes up. You're going to pick local business in this dropdown, and then you're going to fill out your information. And when you fill out the information, you're going to copy and paste directly from your Google profile. And once you're done, there's going to be a button where it's going to say like generate code. And then that code you can copy and paste into your website. And again, I'm talking about some pretty technical stuff here, but this is some stuff that will live inside the code of your site that Google will then read. And because you have this added to your website, it's going to rank you higher than websites that don't. If you are a Market Muscles customer, this is done for you automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you're not, this is something I highly encourage you to add. The overarching, I guess, topic or lesson from all of what we're talking about is just stacking as many chips in your corner, so that way you rank as high as possible. Google has this algorithm. They don't release the details of this algorithm, which is really frustrating. You kind of have to figure out these things yourselves. And that's why Chris and I spend a lot of time just researching these things. But as a business, you need to play to their game as much as possible to rank as high as possible. So everything that we've shared today is all things so that way you're able to, rank as high as possible. So these are some really core things when it comes to optimizing your website, specifically for local searches. Cool. I'll let you take back over, Chris.
Sweet. So before we wrap up here, and Miss Campos, absolutely, who will in a second. I just want to share a couple of kind of like, they're not necessarily like or have occurred, super recently, but these are some major changes that have happened. So they've redesigned the local 3-pack. It used to look like this. Now it looks like this. So, it's more horizontal as opposed to vertically. But this is a newer thing where you're actually starting to see ads inside of the local 3-pack as well. So not only can your ads show up all the way at the top of the search engine results page, your ads can now show up inside of the 3-pack. As you can see, it's got this bolded word that says ad. So it's not really the 3-pack anymore. It could be the 4-pack or it could be the 5-pack. But another benefit of running ads would be to also get them inside of here. And I think there's a lot of power. If somebody searches for your school, they see your ad at the very top, they see you in the 3-pack, and then they see you organically near the top as well. That's you taking up as much real estate on Google search engine results page as possible. Another newer thing that they're doing is they're starting to allow filters. It doesn't happen with every search. I predominantly see it with like restaurant searches. I haven't I've noticed it with martial arts, but it's more of like choosing things like open now or top rated. So they're starting to roll out more of this. So when somebody does a search at the top, they can filter out what those searches are, which again, another reason why to have top rated, why to get so many reviews, because people will be able to filter it out based off of that. And this is another one. And, I think there's pros and cons about this, but when we audit Google business profiles, we often see schools put their class hours on here. So let's say your classes start at 4 p.m. It says their hours are 4 until 9. Well, if I'm a parent on my lunch break and it says that you're closed, I'm not clicking on your phone number because it says that you're closed. So if you have the ability to answer phones, let's say from maybe you're not in the school until maybe 2, but you can answer the phone from 10 to 9. I would recommend changing your hours because it will improve the likelihood that people will click on it and call your number. Now, the downside to that, and it would be specifically if you're in a highly foot trafficked area. So let's say you're, like connected to the grocery store, like a Publix, which is very popular here in Florida. You could potentially upset some people if you have certain hours on your Google business profile where you're not actually in the building. My school is in more of an industrial park, like you're not just going to walk by it. So there are pros and cons to that, but if you can answer the phone, I would set up your business hours to when you can answer the phone, because otherwise you're going to be missing out on a lot of phone calls. Okay. The other thing Google is starting to test are these carousels underneath the 3-pack. So you'll see in this case, you could actually kind of slide and swipe to the left to look through. So they're just testing different layouts and different formats. And this is a newer format that they are testing with the carousel. The last thing I just want to notate, guys, is the emphasis on reviews, recent reviews, responding to those reviews, and the prominence of your profile. And the prominence of your profile is going to come with you being active on your profile. This isn't something that it's just a one and done. It really shouldn't just be a monthly thing. As often as you are going on social media and updating your, business accounts on social media, you should be doing this as well on your Google business profile. Okay.
Hey, Chris,
Both yeah, go ahead.
quick question. Do you have a training on getting Google reviews? I'm pretty sure you do, right?
I do have a training on getting Google reviews. I actually have 2 trainings on getting Google reviews. We host all of our webinars on our website. So if you need help with this, and actually this is kind of cool. Let me show you this too. We just started sending these out to all of our new GrowPro clients. And what this has is it has a chip in it, and you could put it on your front desk and people can just tap it and would be able to do a Google review. So it's like a QR code, but you don't have to open up your camera. You just tap it. And it's pretty easy to set up. So this is another option. This would be a system that you implement to get more consistent reviews. I've seen school owners put QR codes in the restrooms, like on the backside of the stall. So when somebody's sitting down, it's right in front of them when they go to the bathroom. But I have done the webinar on how to increase your Google reviews. I'm just grabbing the link right here. So if you guys need that, there you go. How about the old clients? Are you asking in regards to like old clients leaving reviews and responding to them?
Getting access to that, the thing that you just showed off. Because you mentioned that you're sending it to new clients, so yeah.
Oh, that's what yes, Mr. Bear. I will write that down, sir. I'd be happy to send it over to you. Open Pandora's box. All right. If you guys are clients and you want one, send me an email. But you got to send me an email. You too, Mr. Bear. Send me an email. Chris, no H, Cris, and just say, I want the Google review thingamajig, and we'll get it over to you. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I dropped the webinar link. If you're a GrowPro client and you want the Google review, what's it called? An NFC? I can't remember. There's some acronym for it where you just kind of tap, and it will pop up. Okay. So last thing, guys, before we wrap up, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Both Steven and I, if you're not clients of GrowPro or Market Muscles, we both offer free marketing audits. So ours is growproagency.com survey/survey, and then marketmuscles.com/website-audit. You can easily find these by just going to the website. If you would like us to do an audit. So Steven, what do you guys audit on the website exactly? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so we take a look at your existing website. Because we've been doing this for so long, we understand the ideal build for a website that's going to attract the most people. So we really just share what type of adjustments you should be making on your website, what opportunities you're missing, and then of course chatting to see if our services would be helpful and if things align that way. So It's a really informative. At the minimum, you leave with good information on how you can enhance your existing website and make it a better lead generating website.
Yeah. Both Steven and I, we have very similar cultures in our companies. We don't do hardcore sales. Like it's just a conversation. We're there to help you, give you feedback. And, if you want to move forward, awesome. If not, well, at least you kind of know what to improve with your online presence and your website. Google Business kept flagging my picture uploads last night and saying they broke the terms of service. Any advice? I'd be curious to see what types of pictures you uploaded. Maybe potentially if they were somewhat violent. I don't think you would have done this, Mr. Scott, but maybe if I got a jiu-jitsu school and I'm putting a kid in a chokehold, like that could potentially, or if there were sparring pictures potentially, but we've had a lot of like our grappling photos uploaded without a problem. I would just try again. Sometimes tech is finicky. And if you want to shoot it over to us, we can try and do it on our end for you. Okay. What do you suggest about Google? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
was just saying it was a picture of me standing with a principal because of our school supply drive. I mean, I was wearing a polo shirt and she was standing there. So. No violence, hopefully.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is really odd. Potentially change. So one of the things that people argue that it does help and other people argue that it doesn't help is the file name of the picture, actually putting keywords in it, potentially rename the file to like Revolution. So it knows that like, hey, this is, a picture from us. I would try that and see if it helps, but it could just be potentially flagging it because it's not necessarily in the school if it was at the elementary school, maybe. Okay. Nicholas said, I had that happen for a couple of weeks, but isn't doing it anymore. Yeah, sometimes, tech is finicky. Okay, last question, then we'll wrap up. What do you suggest about Google Ads as it's expensive? It is expensive, right? I went to dinner with my middle son Nate last night. We went to a very nice steakhouse, and I was like, "Order the steak, bud." And it's like $70 steak. He's not used to that, right? He's used to not eating $70 steaks. So Google is the $70 steak, right? And do I think Facebook would be, what's not a good steak, Steven?
Outback.
Anything Outback? All right, maybe Outback.
I'm
I don't know.
not a
You might
fan.
upset some people. There might be some
Yeah.
people that really like Outback in here. Um, what I would suggest is that you go all in organically on the activities that we talked about today because it does take money. And if you are able to rank higher organically, you are going to get clicks first, people coming in, and then reinvesting that that profit back into the marketing. And also consider, there are, yeah, you want to add something?
Yeah. I was just going to add. So with Google Ads, it's a bidding system. Okay. So it's contingent on how competitive the keyword is that you're trying to rank for. Okay. So if a lot of your competitors are running Google Ads, it's going to cost you more money because it's simply a bidding system. Who's going to pay the most to show up? Okay. So when Chris's team is looking at the keywords to rank you for on Google Ads, I'm sure one of the considerations is, how much you have to spend for each keyword. But if you're saying like you have a limited budget, maybe it makes sense to go for some of the less competitive keywords. You won't get as many searches for that keyword, but you will show up at the top for it. So it's a kind of concept called low-hanging fruit, essentially. We can go for some of those less competitive keywords, but just know if you're in a highly competitive area, you're going to be paying more.
Great add-on. We're a fan of search. Display is less costly, but there's a reason why it's less costly. So we want our ads, showing up at the top or in the 3-pack when they are using those particular key terms. Okay. I know we're 5 minutes over, and I know there's some people that they're like, can you guys wrap it up? You told me I was going to get the heat map link. So I'm going to drop that, and then we'll answer Mr. Richards' question. What about adding reviews, videos, and pictures on the website, Stephen?
So your website should have a dedicated reviews page. Like I mentioned, managing about 800 websites, the number 2 most visited page on our clients' websites is a reviews page because that's how people shop. So have a dedicated reviews page, add in as many reviews as you have from all of your different social media profiles. So Facebook, Google, Yelp. And if you literally have 200, you should have 200 on that page. You can integrate videos if you have video testimonials as well on that page. But it's one of those things where if somebody goes to it and they see the just sheer amount of reviews that you have listed out on one page, it's just so impressive. It just overwhelms them with the success of your school and what you can offer them. And it's again, one of those things that I bet your competitors are not doing. So if you don't have that page created, reach out to our team and we can help you with that. And then if you're not a Market Muscles customer, I highly suggest you do that.
Awesome. All right, guys, you got some action steps. You got some homework. Let's make sure we're ranking higher. The higher you rank, the more clicks you're going to get. And in order to get a new student in the digital world, it starts with that click. We can get the click, we can get the lead. If we can get the lead, we can get the appointment. If we can get the appointment, we can get the new student. All right. Steven, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Hope everybody has a phenomenal week, and we'll see everybody soon. Bye,
Here,
guys.
guys.